Hello, Java Challenger. I'm very happy that I have here today Steven Chin. Steven is a Java champion. He's a VP DevRel at Neo4j. He is an OpenAI Alliance member as well. He's the author of Raspberry Pi with Java, the definitive guide to modern client development. And he's also a pro JavaFX platform. He's a worldwide speaker. He did many keynotes for worldwide conferences, including Java One. He's an avid motorcyclist and he enjoys teaching kids on how to do embedded and robot programming together with his daughter. Thank you so much, Stephen, for accepting his invitation for this interview. How are you?
Yeah, no, doing good. Yeah, so excited we finally found a time to chat, and I'm excited to share kind of my experience and help people grow their career as Java developers, as folks who are spreading innovation and technology and kind of teaching the next generation of great developers on what they're doing. So yeah, very excited.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Steven. My first question to you is about your career trajectory. And I'm mainly interested in career challenges and insights for intermediate and senior Java developers so that they can apply those insights in their careers as well. So, can you tell me your trajectory in this perspective in a way that you had specific challenges and how you conquered them, and how can intermediate and senior developers apply those principles in their careers?
So just as a quick summary of like how I moved along in my career. So I've always been a technical person. I got a computer science and computer engineering degree at CMU. Even before that, I was programming and writing applications for my teachers at school and middle school and high school. From a very young age, I was building apps and doing technology. And I've done a whole bunch of things in my career. So I've done architecture, management, agile processes, now developer relations and developer advocacy. But I think one of the things which I always try to do, and I think this is important for technical folks to remember in their career, is your value, like your contribution is expertise and knowledge and understanding of how things work. And so no matter what role you're in, you should always stay up on the latest technologies and continue learning. Like you always want to be learning new things and learning new technologies and applying them. And as long as you're learning and you're finding new challenges to take on, then that is a successful career trajectory. And if you're ever at a point where you feel like you've stopped learning or you're kind of stagnating, then you're too comfortable and it's time to move on, find a new challenge. And when I say move on, it doesn't even mean switching jobs or switching companies. It can just be looking for a new project, for a new challenge, proposing a new way of doing things for your current team. There's a lot of ways which you can continue to innovate and find new challenges and continue learning without even changing jobs.
And how do you find new challenges in your case?
There's infinite number of challenges in technical work, right? Just look at what's happening today with AI technology. It's changing the way we develop software. It's changing the types of applications you can build. It's changing the way we do unit tests, the way that we go to production and do the DevOps workflows. So just continuing to learn and try out different tools and different frameworks is already a full-time job. So if as a technical person, if you're not 100% or 200% busy just playing with new technologies and experimenting with them, then you're missing out on a big opportunity. And whenever there's a big change or shift in technology, that's also a chance to learn, to up level yourself, to upskill, and then to work on new and exciting things.
Very good. And how is your day-to-day job as a VP of a developer relations on Neo4j?
Yeah, I would say that one of the things which has kind of shifted over time in my career, and I think the best way to describe this is, you know, like before you're a parent, like when you're either single or maybe just recently married, like it's all about you. It's like, I want to go travel, I want to go to amusement parks, I want to go like explore and do different things for myself. And like you're the one who is on the roller coaster enjoying yourself. When you have kids, as a parent, your mindset shifts. And now, rather than going to a crazy roller coaster, you take your kids to Disneyland and they're having fun with the mascot characters and they're going on like smaller rides, teacup rides. You enjoy watching them be successful. And so I think like a natural progression of your career is like it's amazing that you can build software and you can execute and you can build amazing technologies and create things. And I think if you can help other people by mentoring them, by helping them be successful, by helping them to build the cool technologies you really want to be building, that is very satisfying as well. So most of my job at Neo4j is helping my team to learn new technologies, to go to new conferences and events, I was really proud to see Jennifer Reef, who's one of the developer advocates at Neo4j, give her first keynote at DevNexus just recently. So that's amazing that she had the confidence to like propose a keynote, and then she did this like really cool Star Trek themed presentation, and she was really proud and happy. Her whole family showed up, and they all cheered her on. So I think that's helping my team be successful is most of what I do at Neo4j.
Awesome. You mentioned something very interesting to me, and that's a daily challenge for every Java developer, which is learning new technologies. You said that you help your team to learn new technologies, maybe in a more effective way. So can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, I think that it's a little bit different because I run a developer relations team. Literally, our job is to learn new technologies. Everything we do, from working with partners to trying out new AI toolkits or building new ways of doing graph rag or agentic frameworks, that's all new technologies. But the same thing applies to software projects. One of the things which I did a lot of as a software engineer is I would go to conferences like Java 1 back in the day or other big technology events. It wasn't even as much learning at the conference, it was learning what the new technologies were that everyone was using. And then I go back to my team and I'd be like, hey, we're building this boring enterprise backend system for managing all the UPC codes in the world, but we could make it faster if we applied this new database modeling technique to improve performance and then reduce our query time. And then I'd say, hey, look, here's a new framework for Java. This is how you implement it. I do a prototype or like a spike in our development process. And I think it's bringing that innovation back into your team and your project, which people appreciate. It's fun and creative work. And I think you still have to get your day job done. Like you still have to close bugs and do the unit tests and do all the things. But if you have any extra capacity or ability, apply it to something fun and new and innovative.
Very good. And for those who don't know Neo4j, can you briefly explain the product?
Yeah, Neo4j actually has been around for a long time. So we're a graph database company, and graph databases have long been a kind of a novel or unique way of building and representing information to solve complex or cases where you have a lot of joins, you have a lot of relationships and connections. But now it's becoming quite mainstream, where most companies, all the top pharmaceutical companies, all of the companies doing financial transactions and fraud detection, all the companies doing like large supply chain operations, even stuff that we all know, like the transit system for London, TfL, Transit for London, they represent everything as a graph. And compared to a traditional relational database where you're doing things in rows and columns, representing things as nodes and then relationships between those nodes, and then properties on the nodes. That gives you a very flexible schema that also has really good performance characteristics for highly connected data. So your query time for doing multi-level joins dramatically drops when things are represented in a graph form as compared to a relational database. And then on top of this, with all the new AI technologies, graphs again are a very natural representation of the memory of agentic systems, of kind of storing information in a retrieval augmented generation system or RAG system. So it has a lot of really good use cases where the performance benefits of having an interconnected graph of the data outperforms a traditional relational model.
That's very interesting. What are the biggest customers from Neo4j?
We have most of I think 80% of the big Fortune 500 companies, just a lot of
Wow.
big companies use us.
Wow.
Basically, if you looked at data technologies as kind of like a toolkit or arsenal, of course, you're going to have some stuff in relational databases. You might have some document databases as well, like MongoDB. And there's a whole bunch of like things which graph databases are much better than either relational databases or document databases. So large companies tend to have all three types of data technologies. And depending upon like the use case and what you're trying to build, graph is often the more performant of the three, especially with interconnected data. So I think it's interesting. And when we were talking about learning new technologies, this is again, it's a new way of representing data and thinking about things that is a lot of fun to play with. It's if you went to describe an org chart, or if you went to describe like a supply chain flow, you'd naturally draw it as circles and arrows. And that's exactly what a graph database is. You're basically like representing things exactly the way you draw it and explain it to another human.
Very nice. You worked for Oracle for almost a decade, so that's really a long time. And can you tell me more about the experience of being a senior director and developer marketing in the Oracle Groundbreakers team?
I think one of the nice things about being in a large company like Oracle is there's a lot of resources and a lot of things you can do as a company. My team was basically responsible for all of our developer marketing across Java, across Oracle database, across some of our sales and middleware. And we also ran events like Java 1, like Oracle Code 1. We had an Oracle Code Roadshow series as well. But it was a nice way to take my experience being a developer for a few decades and then translating that into advocacy programs like the Oracle Groundbreakers or events like the Oracle Code Roadshow and try to build the best developer content for that audience where people would learn a lot, would be passionate about what they're doing, and could really have a community that they feel part of.
Awesome. And since you've been working for many years as a VP of DevRel, what criteria would you analyze to hire a DevRel for your team? What should a Java developer do to become a DevRel?
DevRel is kind of an interesting, I don't know if you can call it a career, but occupation. So you have to be very good technically, right? You have to understand and be able to learn things quickly because you're constantly learning new technologies. But you also have to have really good social skills. A lot of what DevRel is about, it's about working with the community, interacting with community leaders, interacting with people. And honestly, the best DevRel candidates are the people who are already doing it. For example, running a Java user group is that's already a lot of community work, a lot of organization, a lot of relationship building. So, like people who are running user groups typically are good candidates for doing advocacy work. Conference speakers, and before I joined Oracle, I was speaking about Java Vex technology and basically doing it on my own initiative, either self-funding or getting a little bit of support from organizers to go to conferences and talk about my book and things I was passionate about. And like I did start out as a great speaker, but it's something you can learn and you improve over time and you get really good at it. So I'd say for Java developers who are interested in pursuing a path which is more about evangelizing technologies and teaching other people about the technologies is the first step is go and do it, attend a conference, speak at a meetup, speak at a user group, maybe even volunteer and help to run meetups or collaborate with other community folks. And over time, then you become what you put your energy and effort into. So if you're doing the job, if you're community facing, if you're speaking, if you're organizing, if you're engaging and have a really good network with the community, then it will become your job.
Amazing. So basically, for Java developers who want to become a DevRel, start giving talks, maybe create your own Java user group, engage with the community, start doing the job before looking for a DevRel position, because I don't think that DevRel positions are even published, right? It's never published. Because usually,
Not for
yeah.
long. Yeah. I think there are listing laws in countries about positions being posted publicly and like applicants for a few weeks. But realistically, most developer advocates get hired because they're already doing the job and they're well known, not because they applied for an opening.
Yeah, and it's totally understandable because it's a position, it's a privileged position. because obviously the salary is a lot higher than a senior developer, and it requires rare skill, which is to give talks and also to be good technically. It's a very difficult combination of skills for developers in general, because most of us, we are introverts. It's very hard to develop our social skills or to talk to people or even to give a talk. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's
something else which I would say is that the typical classification of introvert, extrovert, and like the, like Myers-Briggs type personality assessments, they're designed for the 80% case, right? If you're trying to staff like a company with hundreds of thousands of people, at a high level, those sort of personality tests help you to kind of figure out who might be a better fit for, management or architect or tech lead, or like they try to use that as ways of putting people in boxes. But I would encourage folks to ignore the stereotypes and the kind of the personality, the typical personality type tests. And you have to explore what you're passionate about. And sometimes the skill sets which make you like a really good developer also make you uniquely talented at other things. So, for example, you would think that people who are technical and introverts are not good presenters, but with the right coaching and mentoring, they can actually be better presenters because they have the focus and the patience to learn. And at the end of the day, presenting it's a way of conveying knowledge. It's a way of like teaching other folks. And we can all be good teachers. It's not a personality type. It's not a particular trait that defines some people as being capable of being presenters and some people as not. So I would encourage to not listen to the typical stereotypes, and with practice and with some mentoring, everyone can be a really good communicator and presenter, and the technical folks who put the energy and effort to do that are often better than the naturally extroverted and outgoing types, because those folks, they're good initially, but they hit a different limit, which is they don't have the depth and they don't have the focus to continue to grow in the same way which highly technical presenters can.
definitely highly technical presenters. They can go really deep into any topic, and they don't need really these outstanding communication skills. Like they just need to send their message.
But also the communication skills can be learned. Most folks who know me kind of personally don't expect that I can get on stage and present in front of 10,000 people. And they're surprised to see me just do it, just like your best MC or anyone else. It's not something which I'm naturally talented at, but after enough keynotes at Java 1 and big conferences, and then I observe and I can mimic and see what other people do. If that's what it required to get your message across and to communicate and to be effective, then I think all of us can learn and be really good at it for an hour. And then you're like, I'm done with this. I need a little break with people I'm comfortable around, rather than trying to be put on that external face.
Yeah, maybe I am an exception in this rule because I saw you giving the keynote in Java 1, and I think the room there was, I don't know, like 5,000 people, 10,000 people. There was so many people there, and you were so calm. You were so calm that I was, oh my God, like, how can he do that? At least it was my impression, like that you were not nervous at all and were speaking very calmly in front of
But
10,000 people.
in other words, like what I would say for developers is we're all capable of that with the right mentoring and practice. And it doesn't change who you are on a daily basis, but you can learn for an hour or two how to be an exceptional presenter. And if you have good technical basis, then you actually have good content behind it. It's a much better match than somebody outgoing who looks good on stage, but then you realize is very shallow or is reading from a script. Like that's much worse, in my opinion, much harder to fix.
And is there a process you took to reach at that level, to be in front of I don't know how many people and be really calm? What was your preparation? What did you do to reach that level?
So, like when I first started presenting, I intentionally presented at small meetups and user groups. So I would present at like the Silicon Valley Java user group or the San Francisco Java user group because it's a much more forgiving audience, right? If you stutter, if you get nervous and you forget what you were going to say next. There's no criticism. It's just like they want to help you. Like they'll complete your thought for you, and they're just happy somebody took the time to prepare materials and present it to them, so they're all learning. And I think that's start in an environment which is supportive and that you can get a good experience with. And then I think once you have good content and you are comfortable at presenting, you can start to present at conferences or bigger venues. It is helpful to get some sort of speaker coaching. I think at various points, I either got speaker coaching for myself or I got somebody to do speaker coaching for our team. Like I just hired Peter, who was the MC for InfoBib Shift, to do a private coaching for the DevRel team at Neo4j. And
Nice.
he's great because like he does MC and high profile speeches all the time. He's very comfortable with it and he's learns how to do it. His full name's Peter Hopwood, but
Peter.
he's a MC and speaker coach for his full-time career. And then like a speaker coach, they'll notice when you're fidgeting or you're nervous, or they'll help you with tricks about how to string together ideas or stories or concepts to make your presentation more engaging. And the other thing, which I think is anti-pattern, which they teach all of us in school related to presenting, is in school, you'll first write a script. And then when you present, you read the script. And standing in front of an audience and reading from a script is not very engaging. It's a very poor style of communication. Now, what a lot of people progress from there is they then use a teleprompter and they read from a teleprompter on a big stage. And I've seen this with, for example, the keynotes at KubeCon, which it's one of the largest technical conferences in the world. I was just there for KubeCon London. I think they had 20,000 people or something crazy at the event.
Wow.
And the keynotes are well staged, they're impressive, but then people stand up on stage, they dress nicely, and they read from a teleprompter, and you see their eyes tracking. And you know that they've rehearsed the script, they've written the script, they've rehearsed the script, they've done multiple rehearsals in advance just to get to the point where they look okay reading a teleprompter. But it's a very poor experience. It's not engaging. It's not natural. It's a very sad imitation of what you want to convey information. And I think a better way of learning to present is you have to keep what you want to say up here. You have to know it and internalize it. With technology, it's easier because if it's a technology you're comfortable with, of course you know about it and you can talk through it. And your slides at most should be bullets just to remind you what to say. And ideally should just be pictures or concepts or code snippets. And that way you're talking about from the heart, you're talking about things which you care about and you're passionate about. And you're not just reading off a script and being very stiff in terms of the presentation.
That's much better, but requires a lot more preparation, right? Because like in front of 20,000 people, maybe the speaker won't feel that prepared. They have to write word by word.
Yeah. But in other words, you're better off doing it a little bit ad hoc and failing than using a crutch like reading off a script. So obviously, don't have your first talk be in front of 10,000 people. That's nerve-wracking and awful.
Would kill someone.
But you can work your way up there. For example, my older daughter, Cassandra, she's 21 now, but she's been teaching kids workshops and she's been doing technical activities since she was 13 years old. And she just started presenting. I think she did a lightning talk at Java One once. She
Nice.
started doing some technical sessions at technical events like DevOps Morocco or other small conferences. And she got comfortable enough and she got the opportunity to give the keynote at DevNexus when she was 19. And that was great. It's a huge, imposing auditorium. There was like a lot of people and like she actually has some technical difficulties, not her own, but like some laptop issues to kick it off. So normally that would have rattled even the best presenter, but she did a great job. She was natural. She's taught the content many times to kids, and now she's just teaching it to adults. She went through a full demo. She talked about like diversity and how to get more kids in tech and got really good feedback from the audience and from folks who were very encouraged. So I think that we all have it in ourselves to do that, to have more opportunities to share our knowledge and to share with other folks. But you just need to have that motivation to go beyond what you consider your limits to be, to learn, You should always be learning and trying out new things, and then start small and build up to larger audiences and larger stages and larger opportunities, because we're all capable of that. And it's not something which anybody should feel I'm too much of an introvert, I'm too shy, that you can't do it. We can all do it.
Amazing. And how would you recommend Java developers to market themselves so they get access to the best jobs?
So actually, I'm going to flip this one and say that if you're doing the right things in your job and in your relationships, you should never have to look for a job.
Oh, that's very interesting and could be a little bit polemic to say.
Okay, so obviously you graduate college, like you have to look for a job, right? Because you don't know anybody, you don't have a network, and you have to prove yourself. But I think one of the things I've learned in my career is often either for technical reasons or for like disagreements on architectures or disagreements on approaches, you can have confrontational meetings or you can have like relationship issues. But at the end of the day, everyone's passionate, everyone's working hard, everyone wants to make the right things happen. So if you can do a good job with relationships, in addition to the technical work, don't just agree for the sake of agreeing. Like you should have strong opinions. You should be disagreeing when it makes sense and then committing on when you agree, like commit and move forward. And when you don't get along with somebody, make an effort to try to understand what happened and to make up to them in a way which feels good to both of you. And if you can have those authentic relationships and strong technical contributions, first of all, you're going to be the last person on the team to be let go if there was a layoff or there wasn't an action. So you really don't have much concern or risk about your current job. But those people you work with who you like working with, they go to a new company and they're going to be like, oh, I really enjoyed working with Raphael. There's an opening. I'm going to see if he wants to apply. And after working at a couple places, you end up with such a large network of folks who you've worked with, who you've enjoyed working with, who you have a good relationship with, that the problem is not finding a job or marketing yourself. The problem is there's only one you, and you have to decide, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, I really like what I'm doing now, but this new opportunity sounds kind of interesting, and I like the people there. And maybe after 3 years or 5 years, it's time for a change.
That's a very interesting concept because this really happens a lot in our IT world. We build some connections, and I got lots of jobs like that because I did my best in the jobs I was working for, and I created real connections. And friends of mine who left the company, they went to another company and they asked me if I wanted to join this company. And I also helped other friends, like many times when friends of mine said, "Hey, Rafael, there was a layoff. Unfortunately, I was included. Is there an opportunity for me in the company I'm working for?" Then I said, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah.
Many of my friends were hired like that, and it happened the same with me. So this connection with our coworkers is really, really important.
I think it's the most important thing they don't teach you in school. Like they don't teach you about the value of relationships and connections and how this is the most important part of having a successful career. And obviously, you have to write a good resume, a professional resume, and you should keep your LinkedIn or whatever social media you're using up to date so people know what your technical strengths are. Like those are all things you should do to manage your career over time. But I would say that the thing which matters the most is the people and the relationships. And people who are good at this, they're always in demand. Like they're even within the company. Like you see them moving to new projects, giving new opportunities because people like working with them. People know that they're going to try hard and add a lot of value.
Amazing. And you also mentioned that DevRel professionals, they have to be really good at learning things faster. So can you share some best practices for Java developers looking to improve their skills and stay up to date with the latest development in the technologies?
Yeah, so I think the best way to learn something is to try it. So to start a little project or create a little prototype using the technology you want to test out. It's one thing to read the docs, read the website, whatever, but that doesn't really give you a good feel for the technology until you try it yourself and you experiment with it. So I would say the most important part of learning is experimenting and playing with technologies. And often you can find ways you can do that in your day job, like little development spikes or little prototypes with an applicable technology for things you're doing. And sometimes it's things you do in your spare time. Maybe, so like in the case of Java effects, I'd written a little widget framework for personal use because I was upset at the state of desktop widgets from Microsoft and other companies. And I wrote in Java Swing and kludged it together and made something which looked good but was quite hacky. And one of the Oracle developer advocates at the time, Josh Marinacci, reached out to me and he's like, "Hey, the widget effects stuff you're doing looks really cool. Have you tried Java effects?" And this was before it was even released. It was like a beta technology, which they were just starting to push out. And I was like, sure. And I spent like a Memorial Day weekend. It's like a 3-day weekend off work. And I ported my code over to Java effects and I showed Josh what I did. And he helped me promote it and get more users and get more folks who were interested in what I was doing. And I think it's those opportunities where you can get on new technologies, which are just emerging, that really have the most benefit, right? If you're an early adopter, if you're somebody who's using technologies and helping to improve it, it's always the case that project maintainers and the folks who are working on it, they want the early feedback. They want folks who are using it and who care about it and who really want to make it a better technology.
Awesome. And how do you think developers can stay motivated and continue to learn and grow throughout their careers?
It's all the things we've been talking about, right? So continue learning new technologies over time, begin to mentor and help other people out. That's really valuable. And don't be afraid to pursue new things, new challenges, new opportunities, just because it's like a stereotype or it's something that other people don't think you'd be good at, because we're all intelligent humans. We can learn new things. We can become good at stuff that people don't expect us to and kind of prove people wrong. You can be whatever you want to be.
That's true. That's a very good mindset to have so that you don't have limitations, because it's very common that other people will put limitations on us if we allow them to do that. For example, in my case, people used to say, "Hey, Rafael, you're pretty technical. You'll never go beyond that." And I really thought that I would never be able to give a talk or to communicate effectively with business people. I really thought that I would be able only to solve technical problems, and that was it. I thought it was my personality, and there was nothing I could do about that. But then I learned by going to conferences and reading books, talking to mentors, that this is not true. So we can improve any skill we want if we put the work on that. And these limitations people put on us, we can't allow that, because it's us who decide how far we can get.
Yeah, exactly.
I really had this weak mindset back in the days. But then when I was able to break this limitation, to break my limits on that, it was different. Then I realized, okay, I can really do whatever I want as long as I put in the work and I put the focus.
Yeah, and that's how you have to think. Find out what you're passionate about, and then you can do that. You can learn it. You can learn new skills. You can learn new things, and that's the interesting part of working, is learning new things. And then, really, the folks who put those boundaries on you or on a set of folks, they're doing it because it's easy. It's the 80% rule. It helps them to categorize folks. But if you want to be exceptional, you don't need to fit inside those boxes. You can be different.
I really like that. Yeah, no one needs to fit into a box. Very nice. How to be an exceptional senior Java developer, a developer that every company wants this developer working for them.
If you want to become a really good developer, I think that learning, like continuing to learn new technologies and new frameworks, because you need to have a wide breadth of things that you know and understand. One example of this is, like, it's common for people to say, I'm a back-end developer, I'm a front-end developer, like I only do this, I only do DevOps infrastructure. Like, they have a very narrow view of what their scope is, but you can do it all. Like, it's not that hard. So I started out doing a lot of front-end technologies. I ended up doing a lot of database work and back-end technologies and SQL optimization. I would even argue with the DBAs about the right query hints and things to do. It's technical. Like, we can all learn this. We can all have a good technical informed opinion. And even going to like automation and DevOps and infrastructure, I was doing it before there was a word for it, because you need to automate your unit tests. You need to have the integration pipelines to put things into production. And if you can script it and automate it, that's much, much better than having like a manual process or like a manual push. And I think as a developer, if you're continuing to learn and you're open to everything which is involved to get a product into production is your purview, then you will become an exceptional and senior developer just because you know so much about the overall system and how it works. And often that's better than just being the best React developer in the world. Of course, that's a great skill set. And if you can bang out amazing user interfaces quickly, like that's great. But if you understand the whole system and you can say for this new application we're building, like this is how we should set up the project, this is how we should architect it, this is what frameworks we should use across the entire application, and then here's my recommendation on a whole bunch of things. That's a lot more valuable than just knowing one piece of it.
What about soft skills? What soft skills should this exceptional developer have that will really make the difference?
I think that like most of the soft skills get down to being a good human. Like if you care about your coworkers and you want to collaborate and you want to do the right things and you're passionate about what you're doing, then you'll do well and you'll find over time the right ways of interacting, the right ways of communicating and being a good team member, being like giving good feedback, mending relationships. Those are all things you'll learn with the right mindset. But I think that it's something you learn and over time and experience working with different teams and people if you have that kind of positive mindset of helping people and making the overall project successful.
And what books or courses would you recommend for Java developers?
So I'm probably the wrong person to ask this question to because I'm too busy writing books
Okay,
to
so let's recommend your books.
to
Let's talk
spend
about your
a
books.
lot of time reading books. I just updated the Pro Java Effects or the definitive guide to Java clients for A-Press. So if you're doing any sort of Java client technology, it's basically a de facto book now. So if you're doing Swing or Java Effects or building modern UIs and for mobile devices, which are cross-platform, it covers all of that. And then I also am working on a new book for O'Reilly. It's
Mm.
going to be called GraphRag, the Definitive Guide. We just contracted and signed it a few weeks ago and are working on the first few chapters now. But basically, it'll cover how you can build agentic AI architectures, Gen AI architectures, can combine graph technology like Neo4j and graph databases together with that and build better reasoning agents which can like answer questions more accurately and with explanations that you can have better explanations for. So I think it should be a really good reference for folks who are trying to figure out how to build new Gen AI applications.
Amazing. I'm gonna leave the link of those books here in the description of this video or podcast so that if you are interested in JavaFX or graphs, you're gonna be able to get Steven's book.
Cool.
Very good. So my last question to you, Steven. We went very quick in this interview. I'm impressed. What career lesson or insight would you like to share with the Java developers?
So I was on a research project at Carnegie Mellon called the Gwydion Project. And basically it was all the team, which they wrote CMU Common Lisp. They were working on a compiler for the Dylan language. And I was an undergrad on the project and I helped them build an IDE called Sheets, which was written in Java in the super early days. This was like Java 1.0, Java 1.1. But basically the guys on the project, their whole kind of life mission and what they aspired to do was to solve hard problems. And so they were happy if what they were doing gave them a unique and interesting and challenging set of hard problems to solve. And I think as a technical person, we should all wake up every day and say, is the stuff I'm working on, is it fun? Are there hard problems? Are there things which I'm solving every day which get me excited? And if you're not, we talked about a lot of ways like adopting new technologies or learning new skills or different ways you can make that happen. But I think the core of it is we're all developers because we want to solve hard problems. So let's continue doing that, write great software, and build things which we can be proud of and which end up getting released to production and other folks can use. And we can see kind of that our hard work be brought to life.
Amazing. Steven, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for sharing such valuable insights for the career of Java developers. I learned a lot, and for sure, you Java Challenger also learned a lot. So thank you so much, Steven. I really hope to meet you in a conference in the world, somewhere in the world.
Yeah, well, I'm sure we will. We have a whole bunch of times already.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Steven. And yeah, I'll see you in the next time. I will see you very soon,
All
hopefully.
right. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye bye.